Welcome to Franchise Empires.
I'm going all in. That's all I got. I'm going to get an SBA loan and I'm going to buy a business, I don't know, 400 or 500 grand. So they end up putting 20% down or whatever. That's all they have. They can't afford to hire somebody like I'm hiring day one, right? They have to be that GM. They have to make sure that they're keeping payroll costs down, all of that. For me, it's worth my time to hire somebody else and pay them a little bit more so that I can be a little less involved. The other piece I'll add to this too is my last franchise, my last GM who worked for me, she was a rock star, literally a rock star. She worked 24 hours around the clock, was just 100. She owned that business as much as I did. She's joining me as well.
Oh, nice.
So not only do I have that GM, but I have her working with me. For me, those two, they're the dream team, right? Like she ran a business that was harder than this and worked 24 hours around the clock. When I say 24 hours, like I actually mean 24 hours. I mean, we were in the senior care business. We have people working literally, there's a 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. People don't show up. People will leave early. There's issues that come up. She was taking those calls. This is a fencing business. This is much easier than that. And so I have her and my operations manager, and then we're going to have some other people as well. But like those two to me are really what allow me to do anything that I want to do here.
I think you said something pretty key there. You're willing to pay for talent, right? Like you're willing to pay a little bit above market rate or whatever, whatever it might be. And then also, give them a nice variable piece of the upside of the work that they put into it. So
right.
Can't be cheap. If you're looking at a franchise under a manager-run model, it's typically worth paying a little bit extra for somebody that you think is going to be good. And because that person's worth more than that, especially if you've got other stuff going on and you're trying to get this thing up and running.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I'm paying an extra, 50 or 100 grand a year, hypothetically, I mean, that's probably in the high end, right? Let's just say that it's still worth it to me. Right. And somebody else who's just going all in on this and they need to be the GM, they can't spend an extra 50, 100 grand a year because they need that to live.
Yeah.
Right. So all of that is kind of the long way of saying, I tell people don't do semi-absentee. I don't think what I'm doing is called semi-absentee by any means. But I'm able to do other things as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is like the most annoying answer, but a lot of times when people ask, like, what franchise should I buy? What should I do? It's so context dependent because like you're in such a specific scenario with your flexibility of time, the fact that you have more money to be able to, pay a GM more. The fact that you found this business in the market you're in, like you've got this whole basically narrative around why you're doing what you're doing. And that narrative is so different for every single person, right? It changes with the brand. And obviously that, to me, that's like the biggest thing here is the brick and mortar franchises out there. They cost so much more. And the people who, like you said, a lot of people are, regardless of what the business is, they're pretty much going all in on it. So with the brick and mortar brands, though, you're in a much bigger hole on day zero, right? And usually those economics aren't nearly as good, and the ramp to cash flow is probably going to be slower for a brick and mortar brand. So obviously there's exceptions. I'm sure we all have a bunch in our head, but yeah, I don't know. That's why it just really scares me if someone's like a first time owner. And I mean, sounds like your buddy who you kind of had that story about on Twitter had some more money to spend than probably the average Joe, but still, it's just I just think brick and mortar brands, it's a lot scarier than what you're doing with Superior Fence and Rail. It's like less on the line for you, even if God forbid shit did hit the fan.
I think about that all the time, right? I'm a conservative Indian CPA by heart, so like that's
Nice.
I think about downside in anything I go into, and to me, it's like, worst case scenario, if I lost 300 grand here, it wouldn't crush me. I don't have an SBA loan either, so it's easier for me to keep this afloat. So all of that, like you said, there's exceptions to everything. And I honestly, even on top of that, I have a minority partner who lives 15 minutes from me, who worst case scenario, if, the two people that I talked about and me couldn't work things out, he would help as well. So we have a pretty good support system, going into this.